can't comment publicly.
All right, we'll begin with an opening statement from Coach and then take questions after.
Yeah, so coming off a great win the other night, I mean, obviously an SEC championship. Only the third time in the history of the program that we're undefeated at home. So I just want to thank our fans again for all the support that they've had all year, for bringing the energy on Wednesday. They were great, big part of the reason we won. I wish I could bring them all to College Station with me. Hopefully they all show up in Nashville and hopefully in Birmingham for the second round of the NCAA tournament. But we do have an important game tomorrow. And you know, people have asked, like, is there anything to play for? Because we've already got the SEC championship wrapped up. My answer to that is we do have a lot to play for. We've talked repeatedly about playing our best basketball at the end of the season. We need to be better tomorrow than we were on Wednesday. There's plenty of areas to improve. You know, 17 wins would be a program record. So our guys are competitors. They've got a lot of pride to play for. And then we're still playing for NCAA tournament seed too. I mean, they came out with us being the #1 overall seed. We need to be playing well to maintain that. So there's plenty to play for. Our guys are going to be ready. We had a great practice today, and we know it'll be a tough environment down there.
Mason.
Coach, obviously Texas A&M is right behind y'all. Understanding what is it like preparing for them, and with Jaden Bradley, you know, having his effectiveness driving to the paint and being able to kick the shooters. When the shooters aren't doing well, does that affect, you know, Jaden Bradley's effectiveness or his minutes when the other shooters aren't effective and he can't really shoot from the perimeter?
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M's second in the league for a reason. They're a really good team. They play really hard, you know, and they're tough. I mean, we've got to be a little tougher against these tough teams. So to kind of answer that question on A&M, like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to playing a really good team. I want to see us play against a tough team, see how we react. Now, Jaden Bradley question, his game's definitely enhanced by having shooting around him. It helps the whole team. It definitely helps him when we're making shots, because, you know, we need the lane opened up for him to drive. You know, the best thing he does is obviously driving past the ball. So yeah, it would certainly help him if we started to make some shots. You know, but I think we've got some shooting's one of those deals that there's a little ebb and flow to it. The best shooters in the world have great shooting streaks, and they also have some cold streaks, and we've just got a few guys that are all going through a little bit of cold streak at the same time. Hopefully they'll snap out of it here quick and start making some shots. It would help Jaden for sure, but it would help everybody, to be honest with you.
Tony.
What have you seen from your defense? You guys have gone from going all that streak of 70 or less, and then the last 3 weeks. What's kind of been wrong with the last 3 games, would you say?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do think we've been good at times. Like Arkansas, we were good for 36 minutes, and then they score like 22 points in the last 4 minutes or something like that. So I think we've had this problem earlier in the year with closing games or just playing great for most of the game, but not the full 40. To me, that was the issue against Arkansas. South Carolina, I don't have the answer. Now, they made some tough shots. We needed to be better, but they definitely shot it well. Auburn, at one point, they were 9 of 11 from 3. I mean, we could have got 11 wide open threes with nobody on our side of half court. I don't know if we'd have made 9 that night the way we were shooting. So, you know, again, like I said, there's some ebbs and flows in the season. We've got to get better starts to the games, particularly offensively. You know, sometimes, you know, you get down, you kind of got to score some points. You got to put an offensive group out there that maybe hurts your defensive efficiency, and the game gets sped up. And, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, I know the easy defensive stat is to look at how many points the other team scored. Our number we always look at is our points per possession, like our efficiency numbers. So, and those haven't been terribly off in some of the games, but they haven't been quite where we expect them to be. I mean, we got up to third in the country at one point in Ken Palm defense. Did you happen to look, what were we fifth or sixth today?
We're still fifth.
We're fifth today. So yeah, we have dropped a little bit, but if we're fifth, we're still top 5 in the country. So we're still a lot better than we were last year.
Nick Alvarez.
You mentioned there's still a lot to play for tomorrow. Has there been any talk on maybe monitoring some of the minutes of some players or trying to figure out the rotation ahead of postseason?
It's a good question. I like to watch a lot of NBA. There's load management in the NBA. There's only 31 regular season games in college. I don't believe in load management in college basketball. So no, we're going in to try to play our best basketball at the end of the year. I don't feel like we were last year. I definitely feel like we want to be this year, so we're going in trying to get a win.
And as a quick follow-up, you've kept the rotation kind of pretty tight in these close games late. I guess how do you kind of envision that kind of working out kind of heading next week?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we have kept the rotation fairly tight, but it's been different. I mean, the rotation, we kind of closed the last 15 minutes or so with, in that Auburn game was different than the rotation we were closing with in the Arkansas game, which was different than what we closed with in the South Carolina game. So it's more, kind of giving everybody a chance to play. And then you see who's playing well that particular night, and the guys that get it rolling, you kind of roll with. So, you know, in some ways it's nice that we've got all the depth we have. Some ways it's a little harder because you don't have that tight 7 or 8 man rotation that you just know that that's what you're going with. But our guys have been great, being excited for their teammates and just doing a good job winning games so far.
Chase.
At this time last season, James Rojas's minutes were going up, especially late in games, and I asked you why, and you said because he's the best communicator you have on the floor. Who's the best communicator on this team?
It's a good question. We've been on some guys to be better communicators. We've got some really high IQ guys. You know, the first name that comes to mind when I think of the starting group is Noah Clowney. I think he's intelligent, talks a lot. But, man, I'm trying to think who the best. Yeah, because Rojas was coming off the bench. Rojas actually had some good games here lately for Wichita State too. But Rojas was coming off the bench playing well. I'm gonna give you a guy, and he hasn't played a ton of minutes for us lately. But if you watch us closely in our huddles, Noah Gurley's talking probably more than anybody. So, you know, will his minutes go up? I don't know, but I had a good talk with Noah. I think he's really trying to lead this team, whether he plays or not. I'm proud of him. So probably Clowney kind of in that starting group and Noah Gurley, but we need some other guys to talk more. Jaden Bradley's one that I think's really, really smart, got a really high IQ. The more he talks, the better off we are. We're trying to encourage him to talk a little more too.
Charlie.
I know the trip to College Station was on the schedule 2 years ago, but it being canceled. Have you reached out to anybody or maybe talked to Petway about maybe what to expect given you're going there for the first time this late in your tenure?
Yeah, this is kind of crazy, right? This is year 4 and it's our first trip to College Station. I mean, yeah, we know we're expecting a raucous crowd. We've had raucous crowds all year. There's a lot of tough places to play in the SEC, and being what our ranking's been for a large majority of the year, we've been in some tough environments and expect another one tomorrow.
Nick Kelly.
JQ's assist rate is the highest it's ever been in his career. Why do you think that is, or what's behind that?
I didn't realize that. It's why you're good at your job. So this is the highest assist rate JQ's ever had.
He's 12th in the nation right now, and I think he's the highest he's ever been is like 120th or something like that.
Well, if I was doing my job better, I'd probably know that and I'd have a better answer for you. But off the top of my head, I would I would say it's the best shooting group he's been with. So you think about the first team he was with here. You know, we had some pretty good shooters, but we didn't have the depth of overall shooters he's got. Last year, he was relied more on to score. this year, you know, you pair him up with Mark Sears, Brandon Miller, Clowney can stretch the floor and shoot, you bring shooters off the bench, and he's coming off the bench with some, Namari Burnett can really shoot it, Rylan Griffin can shoot it, you know, Dom, and we've got good shooting, so I think coupled with the fact that he's playing really aggressive and we've got just more depth of shooting would be my answer to that. And you know what? And he's also got some lob targets with the bigs. With that first year, we didn't have, you know, the lob targets we have this year. You know, he finds Bediako and Pringle a lot at the rim, so it's not just the shooting. The shooting spreads the defense out and allows them to kind of find the bigs at the rim and the shooters on the perimeter both. So kind of combination of all that. So it's a great stat. I'm glad you gave me that one, Nick.
Thanks.
Coach, I know it's kind of early, but I actually got a chance to talk to Mark Gottfried about how that Elite Eight team and this team are similar, and he mentioned the hunger, and he also mentioned how this team has great chemistry. As somebody who's coached a lot of NCAA tournament games, how are hunger and chemistry really important when it comes to postseason play?
It's actually a really good question too, because as a staff, we've been talking about that, like the teams that make the runs. You know, I go back to my Buffalo teams, and I was there 4 years. 3 of those teams won the conference tournament. Like, you've got to have a group of guys that want to continue to play with each other and love each other and really respect each other. Like, those teams want to keep playing. And, you know, the teams that don't love playing with each other, don't love each other, kind of take it or leave it at the end of the year, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe they're sick of each other. So I think the chemistry and the hunger a lot of times go hand in hand. When you've got really competitive guys that want to keep playing together as long as they can, you end up with teams that make runs. If you look at what we got going on, I feel pretty good about it. You know, and Gottfried's the Elite Eight team. Petway actually played on that team, so Petway's, you know, the question have I talked to Petway about, you know, but we have talked to Petway about the team that made the run here, and I think we've got a great group of kids that's really hungry. You know, we haven't been shooting it particularly well, but I think we can get that back. But we've been playing hard and figuring out ways to win. So I think both those are key instruments in making a run in March.
Last one, Tony.
Kind of going back to Nick's question, you talk about load management. You're almost kind of forced into that, having to play an overtime game and resting Charles Bediako and Ryan Griffin. Does that affect what effect does that have, I guess, on this week and moving forward this week?
We're cognizant of the loads that our players have. I mean, Clark and Henry, our strength coach and our trainer, both fill us in every game, even today in practice. You know, Henry came up and kind of gave me got trim scores and different stuff for like what our players are at in practice. So we kind of limited reps, kind of the last fourth of practice or so on some guys, just to make sure that, you know, we've got an 11 o'clock tip tomorrow. So just to make sure that we're doing a good job of making sure their legs are fresh for the games. But, you know, Charles played 13 minutes last game.
Yeah, and Rylan 11.
Yeah, so that helped us out managing their load a little bit. But, you know, you look at guys like Brandon and Mark who play heavy minutes most of the games. I think they're both going to be fine, but we're definitely going to make sure, and we already did in practice today, make sure that we limited their reps on some of those guys. But, you know, we'll get done with tomorrow, and then we don't play, you know, we'll take Sunday off. We don't play till Friday. So we'll make sure we're smart with our practice times, kind of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, going into the SEC tournament, try to get our guys as fresh as they can be going into the tournament there.
Thanks, Coach.